Something happened the other day. A writer for Out magazine wrote that you should disavow your Trump supporter friends. And that is dangerous and absurd rhetoric. How's it going, everybody? I'm back in New York, and I said a few days ago I wanted to do a video talking about the cultural civil war, and so this is going to be that. Normally I shoot videos like this in my apartment, but it's nice out, and I almost never come to New York, so I figured I'd come over to Brooklyn, walk around Fort Greene Park a little bit, and I got my drone and the new controller, so super excited for that. I don't know if I'll have time to film anything before I do this video, but anyway, the big issue that I want to talk about is the hacker community pulling away from the hard left. So first, let me give you a history lesson. Anonymous is a hacktivist group, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. If you didn't, they're a loosely organized, kind of anarchic online, you know what, I guess they're kind of like an online black bloc. They make Twitter accounts and other social media profiles that hide their identity so that they can engage in activism without being fear of being doxxed or their identities being released and things like that. And often they do things like DDoS attacks. That's a distributed denial of service attack where they shut down a website for a short period of time. It's nothing serious, no serious damage to any websites, but it's hacktivism. It's online digital activism, and a DDoS attack is considered like an online sit-in, blocking the door to a building. There have been a lot of really high-profile anonymous accounts that were associated with some well-known hackers over the past several years. But something interesting has started to happen. A few months ago, I went to the home of a friend of mine who is a well-known hacker and friends with many, many other hackers, and they started telling me that they were sick and tired of social justice and the hard left. They were telling me how they loved Milo Yiannopoulos, which was, I don't want to say it's completely surprising, but it was interesting. And I asked them, I said, but, the hackers, anonymous, engaging in these protests, supporting a lot of what we consider to be progressive or left-wing values, over the past several years, that's what they've been known for. And, they said to me that this person said that it's just gotten too much, this anti-free speech rhetoric, this humorless, that's how they see it. It's just too much, and they don't like it. And so I started thinking about this, and I thought of something interesting. Anonymous has its root in 4chan. On 4chan, when you post, your name comes up as Anonymous. And so people started making jokes that Anonymous was like one person, or that it was a secret group. And so when they decided to engage in some actions, it was under the banner of Anonymous. Now, there's a long history to it, and I'm not the expert to talk about it, but that's like a general idea. When they started protesting certain groups and certain policies and things like that, it attracted regular left-leaning activists. And so naturally, this small group of online trolls, mixed in with some actual hackers, became surrounded by left-leaning activists, and we saw this around like Occupy Wall Street and other like-minded protests, a lot of the Occupy stuff. And so then these anonymous accounts on Twitter start popping up that aren't really hackers. They're just left-leaning activists who are trying to hide their identity and like the things that Anonymous is fighting for. One of the things that Anonymous was fighting for is free expression. In the hacker community, free expression, freedom of information, data love is extremely important. The idea that we're all allowed to know what's happening in our world, that we're allowed to speak about it and share our ideas is paramount. And this is why we saw groups like Anonymous and, more than Anonymous, Telecomics, which was a smaller group you may not have heard of, fighting to help create lines of communication and help activists avoid government suppression. Because the idea was, there's this big, powerful entity that wants to shut you down, but you have a right to express yourself, then we're going to help you do it. But what have we seen lately? It's kind of been the opposite. So it's no surprise to me that we're seeing a lot of hackers, at least in my circles, are moving away. But more importantly, with its root in 4chan, we can look at what 4chan is doing today. And 4chan certainly isn't on the side of the left. 4chan is either supporting Trump or mocking social justice. The same place where Anonymous came from, where the word anonymous still exists, the same ideas, and a lot of the same trolly behavior, it's still there on 4chan. Now, the reason I bring this up is that there have been a few things that have happened lately. One, like I said, meeting my friend and talking to them about it. There was a high-profile hacker who posted on Facebook talking about just being sick and tired of this anti-speech, anti-expression, hard rhetoric that's getting too confusing to even understand. Everyone's offended. It can't work. But something happened in Boston. So when I was in Boston during the free speech rally versus the Democratic Socialists and Antifa, a hacker community member, I guess I'll say, hit me up and said they were coming down. And when they got there, I asked them where they were. They said, I am on the side with the good guys. And I laughed and I said, I seriously have no idea which side that is, right? And I'm not saying one side is good and one side is bad. I'm just flat out saying everybody thinks their side is good, okay? So telling me you're on the side of the good guys literally says nothing. And they told me, no, I'm on the side with Antifa. So I laughed and I walked over and we talked and I asked this person, you realize across the way is all of the kids from 4chan, you know, where Anonymous has its root, and a lot of them, you know, at least a decent amount of them are actual hackers, right? You know, so there was like a divide. But surprisingly, they laughed and they were asking if some of our other friends were over there because, you know, for whatever reason, it's I guess they were self-aware that, you know, although hackers had aligned with the left for the past several years, now it's not the same. You know, look, back several years ago, there was a clear distinction between the government and the individual. And the individuals protesting had every right to do so, so the hackers were naturally like, you have a right to speak, you have a right to protest, and the police should stop you. But today, what we're seeing isn't so much people versus police, it's the left versus the right. It's Antifa and black, you know, groups showing up to Trump rallies and starting fights. Now, I'm not saying it's only one-sided, but it does tend to be the left coming and fighting people on the right, burning free speech signs, and it's something, I mean, God, how many times have I talked about this? The main thing that I really want to talk about is just that among the hackers that I have known for a long time who have actually risked their lives and engaged in some really crazy activism, they're not playing this game anymore. They are not into what the left is doing. And there's an example of why I think we're seeing this. Something happened the other day. A writer for Out magazine wrote that you should disavow your Trump supporter friends. And that is dangerous and absurd rhetoric. You know, the hacker community is about free expression. I mean, hackers are curious people. A lot of what makes a hacker is wanting to understand things, wanting to know why are things the way they are. So when you get people on the left flat out saying, do not engage in conversation, that's shocking. You know, part of what drives me to do what I do is not this idea, you know, that I wanted to be a journalist. It's that I've always been a hacker and I've always wanted to know how things work. I've wanted to explore the world, talk to people, and just understand why things are the way they are. So I've always been pro-conversation, pro-communication, and I have always advocated people to stop fighting and to sit down and have a real conversation and move forward. But now we see people like this writing for their magazine saying, no, disavow your Trump supporter friends. The final thought on all of this is that a lot of hackers are on the left. A lot of the hacktivism we've seen from hackers, it's the left. It's this idea that there's no boss of you. It's that you can figure out how to do things, you can solve your problems, and that means if someone is being a bully, we'll do something about it. 4chan has done some really powerful things over its lifetime, over 10 years, and it gave birth to Anonymous. But now we see Anonymous activists at odds with 4chan, where 4chan is the actual place where this originally was, this behavior, these ideas. I think a lot of what drives the people online, be it 4chan or somewhere else, is the same today as it was back when Anonymous came to fruition. It's just that you get a lot of these left-wing activists who surrounded the group, started these Twitter accounts, and now they're flying the banner of Anonymous, but what's really going on? What are they really doing? Something crazy is happening, and it's this cultural civil war. And it puts people at odds with each other in weird ways. To see hackers, hacktivist accounts trying to figure out, well, who supports who? Or, for example, when I went to the Deplorable in DC for Donald Trump's inauguration and saw Occupy Wall Street activists there supporting Trump, I think it's safe to say that whatever this cultural civil war is, it's not entirely left versus right. I've said it before that it's authoritarian versus libertarian, but it's not exactly left versus right. And at least as it pertains to some really well-known hackers, I've seen them flip to supporting the shitlords, the anti-social justice, the pro-free speech, the pro-expression. and I find the whole thing to be really fascinating. So, why am I talking about hackers? Well, I'm probably going to be talking about hackers for a little bit more, for a while. DEF CON is coming up, and this is the largest hacker convention in the world, I think. At least it was for a long time, maybe it still is. And it's in Vegas. And so we learn a lot about security vulnerabilities, privacy rights, and other weird, crazy things when you go there. So I'm aiming to be there in Vegas at the end of this month, so stay tuned. More hacker talk to come. So, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Comment below, let me know what you think. Click the like button if you like the video. It's a great day in the park. I'm gonna go edit this video, but thanks for hanging out. If you wanna support the work that I do, go to patreon.com/Timcast. Give whatever you'd like, give nothing at all. My videos will always be free and available every single day. These little bugs won't go away. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.